Okay, now GMC, which as you may know is kind of the more luxurious version of Chevrolet, first released the AT4, which stands for all-terrain four-wheel drive, back in 2019. Yeah, that was before the pandemic. It's hard to remember those times. The AT4 was supposed to sit between the range-topping Denali and the pretty well-equipped SLT, and it was meant to be kind of the off-road enthusiast version of the Sierra. Well, fast forward to the year 2022, and well, GMC thought that wasn't enough, and they have released the AT4X, which I imagine stands for Extreme. And this is supposed to be the perfect blend of off-road capability, even more than the AT4, mixed with some of that super luxurious interior and ride quality that you get with the Denali. And well, today we're going to actually review this vehicle, tell you about all of the features and the performance of this AT4X, and we'll see if it's worth the $78,000 price tag. Now, first off, I want to give a huge thank you to General Motors for giving me the opportunity to review this vehicle for you all today. If you guys are in the market for a Sierra, maybe not even this specific trim, make sure you check out their inventory and build your own on the GMC website. I'll put their link down in the description below. So where exactly does the AT4X sit in terms of its competition? Well, to be completely honest, this is kind of in a market on its own. There's not really a true competitor to this vehicle. I mean, obviously the names of Raptor, Raptor R, TRX come to mind, but those are different types of vehicles. Not only are they wider, they're a little bit more powerful, especially when it comes to TRX and the Raptor R, and they're more meant for like desert, dune running, off-roading, those types of things. This thing is slightly more on the luxurious side. It's meant to be kind of the luxury off-roader. And there are actually a couple big advantages to this vehicle over some of those competitors when it comes to off-road capabilities, which we'll discuss in today's video. But let's kick things off talking about the meat and potatoes and all of the specifications you need to know. Okay, now this truck is for those of you that have been complaining about the Raptor not having a V8 engine. And I'm excluding the Raptor R because that was just recently announced. This vehicle you can get today with a standard 6.2 liter small block pushrod V8 that produces 420 horsepower and 460 pound-feet of torque. Now that's mated to a standard 10-speed automatic transmission, and you have a 2-speed transfer case that goes to a 3.23 axle ratio. Now, if we're talking 0 to 60 on this thing, it's actually not bad at just around 5.5 seconds. Now, you guys can fast forward the next 10 seconds or so because we're talking fuel economy. This 6.2 liter gets you about 14 in the city and 18 on the highway, which isn't bad, but it's not great either. Okay, now you can't talk about practicality without talking about purchase price. Now, you can get a GMC Sierra Pro for just around $40,000, really not that bad. But this is not your run-in-the-mill Pro. This is the AT4X, and the starting price for this thing is just around $78,290. Now, the nice thing, if that's what you can call it that, this thing is pretty much fully equipped out of the gate. So there's not really any additional features that you can pay for, aside from maybe some different color options and some little things like accessories and rocker panels. Those are additional accessories, but for the most part, you get one from the manufacturer pretty fully equipped. Now, one interesting thing is this particular truck, per the window sticker, is actually $76,790. But you may be wondering, wait, you told me this starts around 78 grand. Well, it does, but this particular truck was manufactured before the price increase went into effect just a few months ago. And so for that reason, this vehicle is actually slightly cheaper than one that you find on dealership lots. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for new inventory. Okay, starting off with the back end of this truck, first thing I want to talk about is the exhaust pipes, or I should say lack thereof, because GMC has done something pretty smart and tucked them up underneath the bumper so you don't impact your departure angle when you're off-roading this vehicle. You know, all of that was kind of in the back of their mind when designing it. Stepping further up, yeah, see what I did there? You have this little bumper step. This is pretty common amongst GMC and Chevy products, but chances are you're probably not going to use this because this vehicle comes with GMC's Multi-Pro tailgate. Now, if you guys haven't seen the commercials, this Multi-Pro tailgate has about 6 different settings and lots of different functionality. This is the first setting where it kind of folds the tailgate halfway down. You can use this as a work surface. Then you can fold this up, and that way you can place some items into the truck bed and not have it slide out. Then when you close this up, you close that up. You can obviously open, with the soft close, or soft open I should say, functionality of a traditional tailgate. You can fold this up now so that you can put maybe a 2x4 or something and it can rest up against this surface. And then the next phase of this Transformers-like tailgate is this version, where you can have easier access into the truck bed because you're about a foot closer than you would be normally. And then the last feature is this cool little step over here, and you can use this as a step to get in or as a step to kind of sit on when you're tailgating with this vehicle. And well, here's the kicker, and I'm sure you guys are fed up with my dad jokes. This is a kicker audio system, and so you've got different controls here. You can connect via Bluetooth or auxiliary, and you even have a little USB port here so you can charge your device while playing. So that's actually a really smart idea. I'm glad they integrated this audio system here, because that's something you want to do with your pickup truck. Now, here are my thoughts on the Multi-Pro tailgate. I'm glad they did it. I think it's a really unique and different way of doing things, but I think there are some parts that are a little clunky. For example, you know, when you have this open, it's kind of hard to, with one arm, close this tailgate. It's a pretty heavy system because of the additional mechanics that are inside of this thing, including that speaker. It's a little bit difficult to close. Now, opening is easy because you've got that automatic tailgate. That's really nice. It's a soft open, but pushing this button does not raise it back up like on an F-150 that I reviewed recently. So I do wish they had it kind of more automated and maybe some more electronics. That would make the tailgate heavier, but it would just make it a little bit easier to use. So that's my one complaint about the Multi-Pro tailgate. I also don't know how many people are actually going to use all 6 different functionalities. Like, it's useful to have, but I don't know if all of them are really going to be used on a daily basis. Now let's talk about the truck bed. Starting off over here on the right-hand side, you do have a 120 volt household adapter. That's really nice to have, and if this was 5 years ago, I'd be extremely impressed, but Ford does offer quite a few more outlets in its F-150 pickup truck, so it's not as impressive, but still very nice to have, especially if you're tailgating and using that kicker audio system. Other than that, it's a pretty simple truck bed. You do have AT4X embossed over there on the back, and the surface does seem very durable and ready to take a lot of impact. Now, if you guys are wondering about the bed size, this only comes with one bed length on the AT4X, and that is just a little bit over 5.5 feet. If you're looking for, 6.5 feet bed, you're gonna have to downgrade to the AT4 version versus this AT4X, because you can only get this in this truck bed size and the 4-door crew cab. So any other options you can't get in the AT4X. And I think part of the reason they do that is because a 5.5 foot or so bed is much more maneuverable and better off-road than, say, a 6.5 or larger. This just makes it much more nimble, much more easy to maneuver, better breakover angles, and so that's why I think they stuck to a smaller bed size. You'll see the same thing on the TRX and the Raptor, but if you do want a little bit more functionality, you're gonna have to go for a different truck. Now, in terms of payload, let me show you what that looks like based on the sticker on the door. You're looking at just around 1,322 pounds on this vehicle, and that makes sense because it is pretty well equipped, so obviously the more weight you have in the vehicle with its equipment is gonna make less payload, but really not too bad. In terms of towing capacity, this vehicle is actually above its class, and I'm talking compared to the Raptor and the TRX, this one has a towing capacity of 8,900 pounds. That's compared to about 8,100 for the TRX and about 8,200 for the Raptor. Okay, now in terms of practicality, I would rate it a 9 out of 10. Overall, this truck has lots of practicality, a really decent engine, it's got lots of storage space. The only thing really notching this vehicle down is the fact that you don't have any like closed storage like we're starting to see with some electric pickup trucks, and the price point. It's not very practical at $78,000. Okay, this is AT4X, so we have to talk about its off-road capability. That's part of its practicality. And there are quite a few off-road goodies on this pickup truck. Now, first off, this is essentially the same vehicle as the Chevy Silverado ZR2, but it does come with a few compromises compared to that vehicle. At first glance, the approach angle of 25.5 degrees is probably pretty weak for some of you avid off-road. There's just not that much clearance located over here at the front of the wheel well. Now, coming to the back, you don't have a great departure angle either at just around 23 degrees. And again, you're kind of limited by that rear bumper. Although they did tuck the exhaust pipes, that makes it a little bit better. It's still not a class leader by any means. Now, in case you're wondering, this vehicle does come with a standard 2-inch lift compared to the regular Sierra, and that allows it to get just around 11 inches of ground clearance. Now, let's let's talk about the wheels, because this is kind of a controversy compared to the ZR2. This vehicle comes with 32-inch Goodyear Wrangler Duratrack mud terrain tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels. Now that's compared to the 35-inch wheels that come on the ZR2, and a lot of people do complain about that. They feel like this thing should have at least the same size, since the underpinnings of this vehicle are essentially the same. Now the advantage to that is it's a little bit more comfortable to drive on the road, and I have noticed some car reviewers say that these wheels look a little bit small for the vehicle. I don't think they look very small when you're looking at them head on from the side, but when the wheel is turned, it almost looks like they're just not wide enough compared to the large size of this vehicle, but that's just a personal opinion. Now this is the mother lode. This is what makes this vehicle so fantastic. It's the Multimatic DSS variable rate spool valve dampers that provide excellent off-road and on-road comfort. And these are the exact same ones that come on the ZR2, and we'll talk about how it rides when we get to the driving portion, but they really are fantastic. Now what surprises me about this truck, and this is something that only the ZR2 and the GMC Sierra AT4X come with, is this is the only half-ton pickup truck on the market to come with front and rear lockers. Yeah, that's right. If you are in a hairy situation in this pickup truck, you've got rear and front lockers to get you out of that situation. That's a really nice feature to have. You also do have rock sliders over here. This did come with an option on this particular truck, and they do feel like they're attached to the frame. I mean, they do not move. When I step on them, they're a really durable surface, and that will protect the side of your vehicle when you're doing some intense off-roading. For those of you wondering, you do have skid plates located under this vehicle to prevent some of the important drivetrain components, and this vehicle does come with the hill descent control, which is essentially an off-road cruise control where you can set the speed and the vehicle will use the brakes and the power to regulate that speed. Now when it comes to off-road capability, I would rate this vehicle an 8 out of 10. It's by no means perfect, because you've got not a very good approach angle, not a great departure angle. The wheel and tire setup could have been better. But at the same time, this vehicle comes with some amazing goodies that you can't even get in like a TRX or a Raptor. I'm talking front and rear lockers. You've also got skid plates everywhere. You've got a 360-degree camera, rock sliders, trail control. All of those things are really helpful to have when you're in a tricky situation. It almost seems like the underpinnings of this vehicle are way more capable than the body allows it to be. But regardless of what situation you find yourself in, I'm sure the AT4X will be able to get you out of it. Okay, now before we jump inside and I show you the interior amenities, I want to first do a quick 360 around the exterior of the truck, because I don't think I've really touched on that yet. First off, this vehicle does look very, very stately. It's got this cool, like gunmetal, almost bronze appearance to the fascia. You got GMC emboldened on the front, nice, beautiful LED headlights, and you know, they actually have GMC written inside, kind of embossed, and then Sierra over here on the side as well. And I think they look really, really handsome. It's just a really good looking truck. It does, in my opinion, look like it's $70,000 plus price tag. Now, coming down here at the bottom, you do have red tow hooks. That's not an option on every single pickup truck, so the fact that this comes with it is great. You've got, I believe, your fog lights over here down at the bottom. You do have a functional air inlet over here. It's a bit on the smaller end, but it does feed into the wheel well. And then coming over here on the side, you've got this really kind of boxy, straight appearance to it. Really gives it an aggressive look. I mean, this is a tall hood. It's probably up to my chest actually, and so you don't want to get in a car accident with one of these. But you do have the 6.2 liter V8 written over here on the side with the same type of kind of gunmetal bronze look to it. Looks really nice. An AT4X badge here at the bottom, and then the rest of this truck looks very similar to every other GMC Sierra. Like I mentioned, you do have rock sliders over here on the side, and we've already talked about the wheel and tire setup. Coming back for the rear, tail lights, you do have Sierra written over here as well on the side. And these are pretty much the same tail light unit you find on all other GMCs. Again, another AT4X badge. I really like the GMC logo here at the back. Just gives it kind of an upscale look to it. In my opinion, I would rate the exterior a 7 out of 10. Now, I've had a lot of people come up to me while I'm filming this and just driving it around, people saying this is a really good looking pickup truck. And I 100% agree with that. I think this is a very, very luxurious, premium looking pickup truck. It's it's worth its price. But when you compare it to kind of some of the other off-road competitors, including the ZR2 and the F-150 Raptor and the TRX, I do wish they differentiated this one a little bit more from some of the other GMC Sierras, especially the Denali or Denali Ultimate. This looks more like a conventional pickup truck or closer to those other ones than it does kind of a special edition off-road version. So from that standpoint, I wish they maybe did slightly larger fender flares or maybe make it look a little bit more off-roady than luxurious. And between the ZR2 and this one, I think the ZR2 just looks a little bit more aggressive. The nice thing is you have both options. If you want a Chevy or GMC, you have the off-road looking ZR2 and kind of more subdued or subtle look to it with this GMC Sierra. Okay, now for the moment we've both been waiting for. This is where GMC really flexes its muscles. And boy, is it flexing on the F-150 and the TRX. Starting off with this door panel, you've got really nice soft touch materials over here up top. This is on the hard touch plastic side, but where you're going to rest your elbow is soft touch. You do have this, I believe this is fake wood. I don't think this is real, but it does look real. It's got this kind of open pore wood to it. You've got your memory seat functions. Yes, you do have memory on this pickup truck, and this interesting textured material that you'll notice actually throughout the entire cabin, including on the seats. This is a soft touch material. You've got red stitching, which looks really nice and premium. Again, a little bit more of that textured feature over here on the door panel. Your window switches, which are just your traditional, but they do have automatic up and down. AT4X badge, and then coming down here, you do have a 12-speaker Bose audio system, which sounds really good on the interior of this cabin. You got a little bit white piping located through here, and you'll notice more of that inside of the cabin. And then this is just kind of your cup holder space and storage bin. This is hard touch plastic, but that's common amongst pickup trucks. Turning over here on the seats, you have your 16-way adjustable leather seats and a little bit more of that texture that I mentioned on the door panel. You've got that on the seats itself, so really nice touch. I like the red contrast stitching. You do have the white piping over here going all around and an AT4X badge over here on the backrest. Now, these also come with heated and ventilated option for both the passenger and driver side. And when it comes to heating, you can determine if you want your back heated or your back and your butt. So you've got lots of different options there. And if that wasn't enough for you, this vehicle does come with massage seats. So you can do some desert dune running and still get a shiatsu massage when you're doing off-roading. That's a really nice feature. Now, you can get any color you want on this interior as long as it is black. So keep that in mind. Now we're going to turn over here to the dashboard, starting over here on the left-hand side. These are your mode controls. You've got your off-road, you've got your normal, and then you've got your trailering. And then this is how you regulate your 4 auto, 4 high, 4 low, or 2-wheel drive. You got your parking brake. This is just your lighting functions. This you can turn on the lights outside of the car if you need to. You've got this nice piano black plastic over here, not overused. And then you have the same type of material that you had on the door panel, kind of over here up top, and it extends across the dashboard as well. This is for your head-up display. You do have a 15-inch head-up display on this vehicle with, quite a bit of functionality, including what your tire pressure is at. So that's nice when you're going off-roading. Okay, now let's jump inside and talk about the main selling points of this GMC AT4X. Now, turning it on, the first thing you'll notice is this giant 12.3-inch instrument cluster display. This is definitely a major selling point, and it looks absolutely beautiful. Now, it's not too complicated. There's really not that much functionality. You can change the things on the left side and the right side, but for the most part, it's pretty simple and easy to use. One thing I do like is if you change the drive modes, it almost looks like the vehicle is kind of jumping over different types of drive modes. So if you go to, off-road, or you get your normal, the road changes, and it almost looks like the truck is kind of jumping over to the different types of drive modes. So that's really nice to have. Other than that, you can change the way this display looks, but it's not that big of a change. So let me show you what that looks like right now. You've got, this is your classic look, then you've got a progressive look, which changed the display to a little bit more modern. You've got a digital display, which it's already digital, but it goes even more digital. And then you've got just a clean where it just shows you your speed pretty much front and center. So lots of different options there. Doesn't change it up that much. There's not too many cool colors and graphics, but nonetheless, nice to have an all digital display. That's where you have your head-up display, your 15 inches, and then coming down to the steering wheel, it's your typical GM steering wheel. It's a little bit updated versus the other vehicles I had. You do have paddle shifters over here on the left and right side. You've got your turning stock over here with some functionality on the headlights and the windshield wipers. On the left-hand side, this is your cruise control control functions and your heated steering wheel for those cold mornings. You got GMC over here. This is kind of a soft-ish touch plastic, but a little bit on the harder side, but better than some of the other ones you find. On the right-hand side, you have your voice activation, and then this is what controls the different menus. I do like that this is kind of like a roller over here, is nice to have. And then it's just a really nice steering wheel to hold. I do wish it was a little bit thicker, kind of more off-road oriented, but you do have red stitching, which looks really nice on this steering wheel. Now, coming over here to the right, this is kind of the creme de la creme of the interior, and GM has done a phenomenal job improving its interior compared to what it was in the previous generation. You've got your air vents up here, and over here you do have a 13.4-inch touchscreen, and you still have a physical volume button. So for those of you that complain about that, you do have that. You've got your traditional home button, and it's a really simple system to use. You know, to be honest, there's really not that much to discuss here in terms of functionality. You just got these two main screens, and that's pretty much it. I mean, aside from the settings button that has kind of a bunch of different sub screens, for the most part, it's a pretty simple system, and I like that they did it that way. There's no need to make it extra complicated. On the right-hand side is kind of your second menu over here, and this is where you can show off your map. This is kind of where, you know, if you connect a trailer, that's where you can see the information, or you can just make it look like a clock. And then one of the best selling points of this interior is the 360-degree camera. I mean, there are so many different angles here. There's just lots of different things that I don't even know how they do with software. You can look at the rear tires, which is not something I can find on every single car. You can look right above the trailer hitch, and then the last angle I want to show, you can actually look into the truck bed. So there's my tripod laying dead because it was getting in the way, but you know, you can even zoom in. So that's, I mean, just so many different things. And my favorite feature is this is something that they fixed in this current generation, is there's a direct button to get to the camera. So you don't have to hunt around like something I was noticing in the Traverse and the Equinox I reviewed. I mean, you push one button and the vehicle remembers what your last camera setting was, and it immediately pulls that up. I mean, huge kudos to GMC for doing that. And when I'm pulling into a tight parking spot, this is phenomenal. I would 100% recommend getting a 360 camera, and that comes with this AT4X, so that's fantastic. Now, another really cool feature, and the reason that this screen isn't really that complicated, is because this comes with Google services for 3 years upon purchase of the vehicle. And what that means is you pretty much have Google inside of this vehicle just like you would have an Alexa at home or a Google device at home. It really is very, very smart. So for example, let me ask it a question just using the voice activation. What's today's date?
It's Saturday, August 6, 2022.
Awesome. And there's other things you can do with it, like tell you information about your vehicle. Like, for example, hey Google, how's my fuel level?
Your gas tank is at 80% capacity, so you can drive for about 285 miles.
So this system will actually tell you information about your vehicle. And of course, I can look at the gas tank myself, but it's a little bit more fun to have Google tell me what it is. Now, coming down here, this is pretty much just your climate control section. You do have your ventilated seats, and like I mentioned earlier, you have your heated seats for the back, and you got your heated seats for the back and the butt. Other than that, these are really nice looking and good feeling metal material to it for the climate control settings. And then I really like this push to start button. It looks like a toggle switch, but it doesn't flip up, but really nice aluminum to it. Really love the look of the engine start stop button. And then coming down here is all your toggle switches for your lane departure, your parking sensors, your auto start stop. You can even open your tailgate from here. And then coming over here on the right hand side is your off-road stuff. So this is your traction control. And then this is the good stuff. This is something that you can't get on every truck. You got your rear locker and your front and rear locker. That's a really nice feature to have. Down here is just a storage compartment. Really nice to just put your phone or wallet down here. You do have this really nice shifter. Feels really good in the hands, and a really great place to rest your hand when you put it on this armrest. You got your trailer brake control. You do have a little storage compartment with a USB port and a mini USB port, and then you got your cup holders. You do have a wireless charger, so that's really nice to have. You can just slide your phone in there and it'll charge. A little bit more storage compartment over here that's got a rubber texture to it. And then this is a soft touch armrest as well. Really large. You got a little bit more of that texture that you get from the door. I like how they carried that in. And then opening opening this up, it's a very large interior space, as is expected. You do have more USB ports over here on the left-hand side, and on the right, you do have a power outlet, which I love seeing in pickup trucks. Over here, again, you have a little light over here, but really nice and deep storage compartment. And then if you need to, you can have this to put some, little knickknacks and change. Now, coming over on the passenger side, just as nice of materials. This is soft touch. Pushing this button open, you do get a little bit of a storage compartment over here, which is nice to have to put some little things. And then obviously a glove compartment. You have a little bit more of that white stitching. Again, soft touch material over here. It is covered in leather. Now, coming over here on the passenger side, same really nice use of materials and the same AT4X badge on the passenger seat. Now, one thing I want to mention is up here, this is covered in leather, but it's not actual super soft touch material. But I do like that it's not the same hard touch plastic they put over here. I don't understand why they didn't do the same thing on this piece and then maybe made this more of the hard touch plastic. I would have preferred having the whole door panel look a little bit more premium, because this area is much more visible than this area back here, especially when you're in a driving position. Now, coming up to the top, you do have your all digital mirror. This is not the first in this truck. This is obviously a Chevy GMC Cadillac product, but really nice to have. And then you can adjust kind of the location of the screen and all of the different features with the buttons located over here on the left hand side. Now, coming up to the top, this is where you have a suede headliner. Now, this is one of the few trucks I've reviewed that actually has a suede headliner. Again, another feature I think they probably could have cut costs on and maybe made this more of a soft touch material and kept this just like a traditional headliner instead of a suede headliner. But nonetheless, it does give it a more premium, luxurious look to the top of the vehicle. And this is where you have your sunroof. Unfortunately, and this is one thing that I will ding this vehicle on, you don't get a panoramic sunroof, and you can get that on both the TRX and the F-150. So I really don't get why they didn't put a panoramic sunroof. I think this vehicle calls for it. It would give it a more luxurious look, but nonetheless, this vehicle does not come with that feature. You do have the button to slide open the window in the back if you choose to. Now that we're done talking about the front seats, let's jump to the back and talk about all of the functionality back there. Okay, stepping into the second row, it is just as nice as the first. You've got the same really nice soft touch materials over here, same textures, red stitching, white piping, the 12-speaker Bose audio system, and boatloads of legroom as you would expect with this being a crew cab configuration. One nice feature I like that I've seen in GMC is you do have this little storage compartment located behind the driver and passenger side, and then you have that same cool textured material on the leather as you'd find on the door panel and the front seats. Now, these seats do fold up, which gives you a nice little pass-through over here, and you do have a nice raised surface, so you could put stuff in here. It doesn't roll around. You could put like a jack or a wrench, and then that way it's not affecting the passenger cargo room. Now, climbing inside, you do have a grab handle over here, and really lots of legroom as you would expect. I mean, just probably almost 2 feet of legroom, and then headroom is plentiful as well. Really just a very roomy second row as you would expect with a crew cab. Now, you don't have temperature control here, and I'm not sure why, and you only have one vent on either side. You don't have any in the door pillar. And also, I don't get why they didn't include like a household power outlet over here somewhere at the bottom. That would have been really nice to have for the second row. You do have USB ports. You do have heated seats for both the passenger and driver side. 2 cup holders here with a little compartment where you could put maybe a wallet or something. And then you do have a map pocket over here on the driver and passenger side. Folding down the center armrest, you have 2 more cup holders and then like a box shape to it, maybe like a box water or something that you can place there. And all in all, I really like the angle of these seats. They're comfortable. You're not sitting too straight up like you would maybe in a Jeep or maybe other pickup trucks. It's a really comfortable place to sit, and you have a really nice commanding view of the dashboard. Now, I would rate the interior a 9 out of 10. They really went above and beyond in designing the interior, making it really comfortable, luxurious, plush. You even got massaging seats on this vehicle. The one thing notching this down is, I would say, the lack of color options. I mean, the only thing you can get is black. It'd be nice if it had some dark brown colors or maybe some reds or blues or something crazy. That'd be a nice touch. And I also am knocking them for the fact that they do have still a little bit of hard touch plastic over here on the door panel and some other sections that you can clearly see. Now, I get this is a pickup truck. You want durability, but at the end of the day, this is an $80,000 pickup truck. you kind of want some nicer materials, and I could have done away with the suede headliner in replacement of a little bit more soft touch material on the door. Nonetheless, this interior has got to be one of the best I've ever sat in a pickup truck. Now let's briefly talk about safety, and this vehicle comes with pretty much every safety feature that you would expect. You've got lane keep assist, you've got adaptive cruise control, you've got blind spot monitoring, you know, all of the things that you would expect from a $50,000 pickup truck, let alone an $80,000 one. The one thing where I think they missed the mark, and that's why I would rate safety a 7 out of 10, is the fact that this vehicle does not come with any form of self-driving kind of hands-free technology. And the reason I mark it down is because the Denali Ultimate GMC Sierra comes with GMC's Super Cruise, and that's the system where it actually monitors your eyes, and it has pre-mapped roads, and you can actually pretty much take your hands off the steering wheel and allow it to steer itself. The fact that this vehicle does not come with that at its $80,000 price point is a little disappointing. I feel like they should have included that, or at least some other form of highway driving where I can at least essentially let the vehicle steer the lanes on the highway. In my experience, I haven't even noticed that. This thing will just alert you and vibrate your seat, letting you know you've kind of gone out of the lane, but it doesn't actually keep you in between the lanes. And that is something that I think this vehicle needs to come with, especially at its price point. You know, nonetheless, this vehicle still comes with lots of safety features, don't get me wrong. You have everything you would expect from a modern era vehicle. The only place where they kind of missed the mark is the fact that they have this technology, but they didn't include it on this specific truck. And that's my one complaint about the safety of this vehicle. Okay, now let's get behind the wheel and talk performance and handling, the fun part of this 6.2 liter V8. Now to do that, you do have your regular, just pretty much run-in-the-mill GMC key, nothing too special here. You do have your lock and unlock and your trunk open, as well as your automatic start-stop button. All right, now let's jump inside for the fun part. Okay, perfect timing to do the performance and handling because it's actually starting to rain on us here. So if you guys hear that through the camera, I apologize ahead of time. Getting started in the AT4X. It's a very commanding view of the interior. Really nice job from Chevy or GMC, I should say, on improving that interior quality in this GMC. And now I'm having to scream because this is the loudest rain I have ever heard here in Utah. But I digress. One of the things I want to definitely bring up is the fact that GMC and Chevy have come an incredibly long way in designing their interior ride quality. I mean, this vehicle, and we'll drive over some bumps here so you can see, but this vehicle has probably the softest suspension of almost any vehicle I've ever driven. To give you kind of an example, I recently reviewed an F-150 Lightning, and that has independent four-wheel suspension, which is kind of a first for a pickup truck. This vehicle, getting into it and driving it for the very first time, I had to second guess myself as to whether this vehicle actually comes with independent rear suspension. And when I came out, obviously I knew it was a solid axle, but I was even more surprised about the fact that this is still riding on leaf springs in the back. So this doesn't have the coil suspension that you can find in some off-road pickup trucks. This still has leaf springs in this $80,000 pickup truck, but it doesn't matter because this thing rides so incredibly smooth. I mean, driving over train tracks or even off-roading, I can imagine. I haven't off-roaded this vehicle yet, but I can imagine this is probably the softest suspension I've driven in. And I think a lot of that is testament to the DSS-V shocks that this vehicle comes with. That's the same on the ZR2 and the Colorado. Now, although it's probably really hard to tell right now, the interior cabin is extremely quiet most of the time, unless it's raining cats and dogs outside. It is a very comfortable, refined, quiet cabin on the interior. And again, just kind of speaks to that level of luxury that you find in this vehicle that you may not find in some other off-road pickup trucks. I mean, here we are at a stoplight. The engine just shut off and you probably didn't even feel it or hear it. And there it restarted, and again, you probably didn't feel it. So everything is so refined. And the fact is this has a 6.2 liter V8, and you can really barely hear it inside of the cabin, which could be good or bad depending on what you prefer, but it's a very well insulated cabin. They did a great job with the quality of the interior. Now, to give you just an example of how smooth and soft the ride quality is, we're about to go over some train tracks and you can feel how jarring, or maybe lack thereof, it is inside of the cabin. I mean, taking that same train tracks in the Ford Bronco that I own would have, you know, just jarred the entire cabin, kind of shaking it up, turning it into kind of like a pepper shaker. I mean, it really does make a difference with these Multimatic suspension. I can go over those same surfaces in my Bronco, and it's going to be a lot more vibration, a lot more shaking inside of the cabin. Now, in terms of engine sound, it's not the best. I mean, you may want it to sound a little bit better or louder in the cabin. It really just sounds like any other pickup truck. It doesn't have a, you know, really aggressive, high revving sound to it. It doesn't sound that great even from the outside, as I'm sure you heard with the exhaust clip. It just sounds decent, sounds good. It's not tuned to be a performance-oriented V8. It's tuned to be a great power delivery type of V8. You know, it's kind of a smooth power curve. It makes it really easy to tow with it and gets you out of a tough situation when you're off-roading, but it's not meant to sound sporty or, you know, be very quick at accelerating. Now, in terms of steering, it's very, very smooth, just like you would expect from a luxury vehicle. It doesn't take that much effort to turn the steering wheel, and it really does, you know, for example, I'm going on this turn here. That was a lot of stuff falling in the back that actually had to do with my cleaning supplies, so don't mind that sound of destruction in the back seat, but its steering is quite maneuverable. It feels like a truck that's maybe a little bit smaller than it actually is. Its turning radius is decent for a pickup truck, and really what helps with the maneuverability of this vehicle is the 360-degree camera. I mean, without that, this vehicle wouldn't maneuver the way it does, because having that bird's eye view allows you to really know where everything is located and how to park the vehicle. Now, in terms of seating position, this seat is massive, as you would expect. You have massaging seats, which I'm about to turn on right now. Now, it only massages the back of the seat rest, but that's okay because it actually does a pretty good job. It's not one of those gimmicky massage seats where it just kind of, you know, extends the muscles in your back. It actually does have, you know, some rollers and some inflatables that really do kind of massage the back of the seat rest, and it does a good job with that. Now let's do a quick little acceleration here to show you what it feels like. It's not bad. I actually skid the rear tires because I'm right now in rear wheel drive version and we have rain and wet roads, but it's not bad. Like I said, the power delivery, and again, the bottles of cleaning solution are just jumbling around back there. So the engine isn't really designed for straight line acceleration. You know, it doesn't have any forced induction. It's not a supercharger like the TRX or a turbocharger like the Raptor. And, you know, to be honest, at this price point, I kind of wish they did do some sort of forced induction just to get you a little bit more of that torque when you're, you know, maybe going up a hill and you stomp on it. It kind of has that gradual power delivery that you get from a typical V8, but it doesn't have that, you know, head against the headrest type of feeling to it. And that's just because it wasn't designed that way. But I do wish it did have that. This engine is perfectly capable of getting you from point A to point B and still being very quick at doing so, but I can't say it's a fun engine. It's not a car that you get into because it's fun to do some drifting or accelerating. You know, you don't have that type of feedback from this engine. It's more gradual. It really is similar, if you've ever driven a 5-liter V8 in the F-150, it's very similar to that. I will say this is more powerful than that type of engine, but the power delivery is very similar to the 5-liter V8 in the F-150. And so if you like that, if you like it a little bit more subdued, a little bit more gradual and not kind of crazy like the Raptor or TRX, then this is a perfect engine for you. But it's just not going to get you that type of power that you would get with some forced induction. Let's do one more pull here up a hill and see how it handles. Yeah, it's not bad. Again, we got some wheel slippage. This isn't the best condition to do accelerations. I should have probably put it in all-wheel drive or auto mode or something. Okay, I put the vehicle in 4 auto. Let's see how It accelerates here. Yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it felt like it could have probably downshifted to get a little bit more power, but that was pedal to the floor acceleration, and it's good for a vehicle this size. It's not great. All in all, I would rate the performance and handling a 7 out of 10. The engine is great, and I think it does a good job with the size of this vehicle, but to keep up with the same competition at the same price point, I would say this needs some sort of forced induction. That being said, the ride quality on this thing is unlike any other pickup truck I've driven. So if you're looking for ultimate ride quality, I mean, this thing takes 10 out of 10. I mean, it really rivals some luxury vehicles. In fact, maybe even better than luxury vehicles, because that suspension just soaks up bumps incredibly well. So if you don't need the most powerful pickup truck, but you want something that's the most comfortable, you got to take a look at the AT4X. Okay, so what are my overall thoughts on the GMC Sierra AT4X? Well, if you're looking for the most extreme off-road pickup truck, this is not the truck for you. But if you are looking for the most extreme off-road pickup truck that's also a ultra luxurious pickup truck, then you gotta take a look at the GMC Sierra AT4X. I mean, this pickup truck is for the type of person that wants to take a pretty moderately difficult off-road trail in the morning and afternoon, and then take this same pickup truck to a nice fancy dinner in the evening. It's a perfect blend of off-road capability with lockers, front and rear, skid plates. You've got a 360-degree camera and trail control, and at the same time, an ultra luxurious cabin with lots of soft touch materials, great technology, really comfortable ride quality. And it's really a great mix of off-road capability and on-road luxury. And so if you are looking for a vehicle like that, this is your pickup truck. It's not going to be for everybody, but we live in an amazing world where there's pretty much a pickup truck for whatever you want. So this is that type of pickup truck, and I've absolutely loved my time with this vehicle for the last week. It's really been a joy to drive around and see people turn their heads and look at it, because especially with its LED lights on, this is a good looking, handsome pickup truck. If this is your first time stopping by, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure you hit that like button to this video and subscribe to the channel for all of the weekly car videos. Also, you can find me on all of the social media at Schwazy_. I'll put the links down in the description below. And as always, everybody, I hope you stay Schwazy, stay healthy, and have a wonderful day.